To be 2-0 and growing up with this young team, it's really neat to see because they're so different than the teams I've had here in the past. Number one, it's the youngest team I've probably coached in my coaching career. Number two, it is a team that can really score. And we've had times in practice where we've put up 60, 70 points in a half. And you know, you saw a guy like Carter go off like that, but he shoots it like that quite often. And you can imagine what it looks like with Robo and Milan, Malachi, and all those guys during their game too. The second piece that we've never had here since I've been here is we have a defense that can cause people some problems. That 1-3-1 is really good with a 6'9" guy with the energy level of Arinze Cheatham out there that can play a 5-7 point guard or a 6'9" big. He gives you a lot of versatility to disrupt offenses, and it's a weapon for us this year that's going to allow us to do some things and really, I think, disrupt some teams that we play. So I'm hoping that our students get the word that this is an exciting team to watch. For a guy to have 26 points in a half tonight, Robo had 22 points in a half the other night, and we have a couple other guys that can put up numbers like that. They're going to be a fun team to coach most of the time and a really fun team to watch grow up. I say most of the time because they're still kids.
Carter Skaggs, 17 straight points, like you said. Robo in the first game had an incredible half. Is this something that you've just seen from your guys where they can just catch fire and it's find them?
Well, I've seen it in practice often, and it's the best shooting team that I've coached in practice, and that's better than I've had some great shooting teams at Oregon, and they're not close to the numbers that we put up in practice in some of the drills that we do. We took this team over to the Tri-Cities and played with the 12-second shot clock, and they put up 77 points in a half. We had 80 points in a half with a 12-second shot clock. That's hard to do. You got to really be shooting the ball to do that and shooting at a pretty good clip. So, yes, we've seen them shoot it like that, and yet I've seen the days where Carter, Viante had an excellent shooting night, Robo, Malachi, Stevie Sprayregan is sitting there, and there's another pure shooter that they've all been able to shoot the ball extremely well. Keith Langston, another great shooter. So, you know, there's some special nights in this team, and I'm hoping that just like tonight where you saw an incredible performance, people need to come watch this team because it's going to be fun to watch them grow up, and it's going to be some nights that you don't want to miss one of those incredible performances like you saw tonight and, of course, Robo the other night.
How fortunate was it to find a player like Carter Skaggs who came in here late and certainly didn't have any buzz around him when you signed him?
Well, no buzz, but recruiting is interesting because, again, you can recruit a player like Malachi and everybody says, well, who's recruiting him? And he ends up being invited to USA Basketball with the top 30 players in the country after his first year. You recruit a guy like Robert Franks that nobody recruited. He drops 50 pounds, and now he's probably one of the better big men in the 4 men in the country that can really score the ball. And yet you recruit a guy like Viante Daniels. Not a lot of people recruited him. He's the player of the year over there sitting there. So those are weapons. When you look at Carter, recruiting is about fit. It isn't about who's recruiting who. And I always come back and say one man's trash is another man's treasures. And in this case, one system's trash is another system's treasure. We needed a pure shooter. When we lost Roberto Gittins having to go junior college route, we needed another pure shooter. And lucky enough, Coach Seltzer remembered Carter and his dad because they recruited him at Loyola of Chicago and didn't quite think he was at that level yet. And here we go again. And he goes the route of junior college and comes back. He's got 3 years to play. We make the phone call, bring him out on a visit, and I spent an afternoon with him and the family, and you watch him shoot the ball. And I turned to Benny and said, what were you guys thinking? This is Tawan Porter only at 6'5" with his ability to knock down shots. And Tawan Porter had at Oregon. So we're blessed. We're fortunate. The community is extremely lucky because you have a kid from Indianapolis that's a throwback that can really score, loves to play, loves to entertain the crowd, and he's just going to be a joy to coach.
Did you see an improvement from Malachi? He obviously a tough first couple games shooting the ball, but in the second half he really attacked the defense, and that opened up lanes passing the ball and getting his own shot.
I don't think our guard play is anywhere near where it's going to be and where it needs to be if we're talking about competing against the Oregons and Arizonas and the UCLAs, all those athletes and guys that are 1 foot out of the NBA. Now, the good thing about that is this team, our guard playing all up and down this team, we have excellent growth potential because there's still some guys that can really get on their game. And I don't think our guards have gotten on their game yet, as I call it. So they will get there. Just keep in mind, Malachi is used to having Josh, Ike, Connor, Charles Collison on the floor. He just had to kind of be a facilitator. And then all of a sudden he comes in this year thinking that here comes Malachi needing to do all this stuff. And then, wait a minute, here's Robert Franks. Here's Carter. Here's Quentin Henson. Here's Milan Aqua. There's a lot of things around him that he just needs to get comfortable with. And in time, he's going to be a great one.
Coach, you mentioned that this is a fun team to coach, or it should be a fun team to coach most of the time. There was at least one moment in the first half where you pulled a quick stop to things because there was something you didn't like, whether it was not getting back for a layup or so. Where do you think it turned today where you were starting to see obviously much more of what you wanted to see out of your team?
It turned when we got the right group on the floor that got us into rhythm. I just felt like we kept knocking ourselves out of rhythm, either with an unforced turnover, a missed wide open shot, a missed free throw here. We gave up 9 second chance points in the first half, and then 2 really bad turnovers that were just easy buckets. That's a big number to give up again. So it turned when we got a group on the floor that started defending, getting stops. We got out and running, and we got into what we call those 12-second games. The ball was literally being shot with somewhere between 10 to 12 seconds, and we started knocking down shots. And that group, we rolled with them and kept them on the floor for as long as we could.
What do you think is the cause of some of these slower starts in the first half?
I think it's me finding the right rhythm, the right combination, and we've got so many players. Last year we only had 7 players. They had the group redshirting. We really only played 7 guys. Well, now I've got 13 guys, and we're kind of just getting our bigs back to the party because they've been hurt. So I'm trying to balance and figure out what's the best starting group, what's the best rotation, what's the best group that gets us in the rhythm. Maybe we found it tonight. So we'll just have to tinker with it a little bit more. But that's something we're going to have to correct quick because you can't go on the road and play the likes of a St. Joe's, whoever we play between a Harvard and a St. Mary's down at the Wooden Classic, and get down in a hole and think you're going to come back against those teams. So it's something that we're going to have to continue to tweak, but it's also a good problem to have because the good thing is that this young team has kept its composure. They've made the adjustments. We hit our stride, hit our rhythm, and they've taken off in the second half in 2 ball games. Not only offensively, but it's all been triggered by your defense.
Kind of along that same note, are you comfortable being known for having a program that's a second-half team, or is there some specific things you've seen in the first half that you'd like to clean up?
I think the most important thing, and we said it before the game, we said it before the last game, and I said it at halftime. The most important thing is win the game. Nothing else really matters right now because we just don't want to give away any games in the preseason because as we're winning, we're finding out things about our team too. They're not going to be perfect right now. And yet for segments of the game, they've been really good to be this young. And it gives you an opportunity to look at those segments and grow on them and let them grow and clean up their mistakes. So they're young enough that they're going to make a ton of mistakes. And you just got to kind of be patient with them. That's what I meant by not all the time because just like parenting, you just got to let them make their mistakes and love them and keep them moving in the right direction and keep coaching them up and have some fun with them.
First time we saw Drake tonight, what did you think of his performance?
I thought he was great. I mean, for a guy that came on his visit here out of shape, having finished his season, to blow out his knee on his visit, and we thought he was lost for the year, and then got the good news that it would be somewhere between 10 to 12 weeks. Then it went down 8 to 10 weeks, and in the meantime, our strength coach, Jason Dudley, has gotten Drake into the best shape of his life. And now we've got this new player coming up with a new body. And he is a definite glue guy. When we get Jeff Pollard back, the two of them together are going to really be good for us because they're very vocal on the floor. They're strong. Drake is an incredible athlete, incredible skill set in terms of being able to speed dribble the ball down the floor. He's exactly what we needed in terms of that toughness in the middle.
Do you see any similarities between Jim's program in the first year and your program a few years ago? Coach Hayford, yeah.
Yes, I think the similarities are he's putting in a style, and yet he may not have all the pieces to fit that style. but you got to put your style in and go with it. You can tinker and adjust with it as a coach to try to get as many wins as you can, but you always continue to come back and try and get another piece or another tweak to get to your style of play. Now, again, it's taken us into year 4 to feel like, okay, everybody on that floor is skilled. I've got shooters now. I've got speed. I've got size. I've got athletes. Now I feel like I've got my group here. And it's taken some time to get there, and people need to be patient with him because he is an excellent coach.
I know you guys never played Eastern, but what made him so successful there? Was it implementing the style, getting the right players?
He was excellent at the X's and O's, and his style of play, getting skilled that can really fill it up, really shoot it, so he can spread the floor, and it become very difficult to guard all over the floor. And he's had tremendous success playing that way, and he'll have tremendous success with this team at Seattle. It's just going to take him a little bit of time.
You mentioned Jeff. I know he's under concussion protocol. What is his timeline like?
If he is okay with the workload we gave him today, we worked him really hard yesterday, and he passed everything. If the workload we gave him today, if everything goes like it is right now, we'll have him back on Monday. So we'll have him down in L.A., and we're going to need him there with that size and all of those teams down there and those 3 games in 5 days we're going to have to play.
Off the top of your head, is there anything in practice that you're going to work on ahead of Idaho State?
Zone offense, because they're going to play a ton of zone, and I'm going to continue to get those players that I say are still off of their games. I've got to get them on their game because we've got a lot more basketball sitting on that bench over there, and when everybody needs to get in rhythm. And that becomes, again, a confidence thing. That becomes some things we can tweak in practice, and just there's another guy or two that's going to come up on Saturday. We knew we were going to play better tonight. We want to play better on Saturday to get up to a better start.
You mentioned that there were, you might get a couple guys going on Saturday. Who might that be?
Milan Aqua and Quentin Henson, especially Quentin Henson. He's not gotten the minutes that Milan has gotten. Quentin needs more minutes because he's got a great game in him. And he's that big wing, athletic wing that we've not had here. So there's another big piece sitting over there, or 2, that are sitting over that bench right now.